The Vandalic War was a conflict fought in North Africa between the forces of the Byzantine Empire, also known as the Eastern Roman Empire, and the Vandal Kingdom. In 429 AD, the Vandals, a Germanic population, and their allies, the Alans, crossed from Iberia into North Africa under King Gelimer. Initially invited by the Roman governor of the Diocese of Africa, Bonifacius, who had rebelled against the West Roman Emperor Valentinian III. Rather than serving as his allies, however, they pursued their own ambitions. By 439, they had seized the capital of the province, Carthage, and a treaty in 442 formally granted them the wealthy provinces of Zogatana and Byzacena as sovereign possessions, marking the birth of the Vandalic Kingdom. From this base, the Vandals became a formidable Mediterranean power, raiding as far as the Aegean and sacking Rome in 455. They repelled multiple Roman counterattacks, most decisively crushing a massive joint Eastern and Western imperial fleet in 468. This forced the Eastern Emperor Zeno to conclude a perpetual peace in 476. Relations with Constantinople gradually warmed, particularly under the Vandal king Thrasamund and Byzantine Emperor Anastasius I. When the pro-Roman king Hilderic came to power in 523, ties strengthened further. His overthrow by his cousin Gelimer in 530, however, gave Emperor Justinian I the pretext he needed. With his eastern frontier secured against Persia in 532, Justinian began assembling an invasion force, setting the stage for the Vandal Kingdom's destruction. Gelimer's grip on power was never secure. Shortly after seizing the throne, he alienated much of the Vandal nobility through executions and property confiscations, fueling two provincial revolts, one in Sardinia under a governor named Godas and another in Tripolitania led by Prudentius. Both rebels immediately sought Justinian's support, suggesting active Byzantine diplomatic involvement behind the scenes. Gelimer's response proved strategically costly. He dispatched 120 ships and 5,000 men under his brother Sazan to crush the Sardinian revolt, effectively stripping Africa of its fleet and a significant portion of its army. Meanwhile, Justinian secured the Ostrogothic kingdom's cooperation and gained the use of Syracuse's harbor as a supply base. For this campaign, Justinian chose Belisarius, a proven general fresh from victories against Persia and the Nicairites, whose discipline and Latin fluency made him ideal for winning African support. The Byzantine force was formidable and well-balanced, roughly 15,000 to 17,000 soldiers, including infantry, cavalry, elite pusillari, Hun horse archers, and Herulian troops transported on 500 vessels, escorted by 92 warships. The Vandals, by contrast, faced the campaign weakened with about 20,000 to 25,000 soldiers. Their army, composed entirely of lightly armed cavalry, was poorly suited against Belisarius's armored cataphracts and archers. Decades of comfortable African life had dulled their fighting edge, and internal divisions further undermined their cohesion. The Byzantine expedition set sail from Constantinople on the 21st of June 533 amid great ceremony. The voyage was not without difficulties. 500 soldiers died from dysentery caused by moldy bread at the port of Methone, a mishap attributed to the cost-cutting of the minister, John the Cappadocian. After recovering, the fleet continued through the Ionian Sea to Sicily, where a fortunate intelligence breakthrough changed the course of the campaign. Belisarius' secretary, Procopius, learned through a merchant contact that the Vandals were completely unaware of the approaching fleet, that Gelimer was away from Carthage at the inland town of Hermione, and that his best troops had already been sent to Sardinia. Seizing the opportunity, Belisarius immediately ordered the army to sail for Africa. The fleet landed at Cape Capodvada on the Tunisian coast, some 240 kilometers south of Carthage. Rather than launching an immediate naval assault on the city as some of his officers urged, Belisarius chose the safer option of disembarking and marching overland. From the very first day ashore, he imposed strict discipline on his troops, personally punishing soldiers who stole from local orchards. this policy proved decisive in winning the sympathy of the Romano-African population, which largely welcomed the Byzantines as liberators from Vandal rule. The army marched northward along the coastal road in careful formation, with an advance guard under John the Armenian leading 3 miles ahead, the Hunnic cavalry covering the left flank, and Belisarius himself commanding the rear. Gelimer, now aware of the invasion, shadowed the Roman march while preparing an ambush at a place called Ad Decimum, meaning the 10th milepost, just south of Carthage. His plan was to encircle and destroy the Roman army using 3 converging forces, his brother Amatus attacking from the front, his nephew Gibamund striking the flank, and Gelimer himself delivering the killing blow from the rear. The plan collapsed through poor coordination. On the 13th of September, Amatus arrived too early and was killed by the Roman vanguard before his full force was assembled. Ibamund's flanking column was annihilated by the Hunnic cavalry. Gelimer himself did reach the battlefield with the main army and briefly scattered the Roman advance forces. But upon discovering his dead brother's body, he halted in grief, surrendering the initiative entirely. Belisarius used this pause to rally his cavalry and deliver a decisive counterattack. The Battle of Ad Decimum ended in a crushing Roman victory, and the following day, the 15th of September, Belisarius entered Carthage to a warm reception from its inhabitants. The war, however, was not yet over. Gelimer regrouped at Belisarius, recalled his brother Decisive's victorious force from Sardinia, and began gathering Vandal fugitives and Maori allies. By December, he advanced on Carthage, cutting its aqueduct and attempting a blockade. Belisarius, meanwhile, repaired the city's walls, worked to maintain the loyalty of the Hunnic troops, whose allegiance was dangerously uncertain, and prepared to strike. In mid-December, Belisarius marched out to meet Gelimer at his fortified camp at Tricamarum, around 28 kilometers from Carthage. The ensuing battle was fought almost entirely by cavalry, with the Romans actually outnumbered. John the Armenian led repeated charges against the Vandal center, ultimately killing Tazazan. This broke the Vandal resistance, their army collapsed, Gelimer fled into Numidia, and the remaining Vandals abandoned their camp. The Vandalic Kingdom had effectively ceased to exist. Gelimer was pursued relentlessly, eventually taking refuge on Mount Papua in Numidia among allied Maori tribesmen, where he was blockaded through the winter by the herald commander Faras. Suffering from hunger and with no prospect of rescue, Gelimer finally surrendered in March 534 and was escorted to Carthage. Belisarius, meanwhile, extended Byzantine authority across the former Vandal territories, dispatching officers to Sardinia, Corsica, Mauritania, the Balearic Islands, and the Straits of Gibraltar, and recovered the vast Vandal royal treasure. The campaign, remarkable for its speed and relatively small scale, had in less than a year destroyed a kingdom that had defied the Roman Empire for nearly a century. With the Vandal Kingdom destroyed, Belisarius returned to Constantinople in the summer of 534, bringing Gelimer, thousands of captured Vandals, and an enormous treasury, including treasures looted from Rome 80 years earlier, among them the legendary menorah of the Second Temple. He was honored with a triumph, the first celebrated in Constantinople since its foundation. Gelimer received an estate in Galatia, though he refused to renounce his Arian faith in exchange for patrician rank. Justinian moved swiftly to erase all traces of Vandal rule. Vandals were stripped of property and offices, their men largely enslaved, and the Chalcedonian church restored. Roman provincial administration was re-established as early as April 534, and an extensive fortification program was launched across North Africa.